I'm working in my shop today on Dig Dug, and I have two projects that I'm going to be working on. One is to make this truck more functional, and one is to make it more fun. Right now I've got the four-wheel drive working, but to shift it, I have to climb underneath with a pry bar and fight with things, and that's no good. So the first one is to build a new shifter for Dig Dug. I've got the old shifter out here on the table, and the new one needs to be a 3-stick shifter. I've got the ORD doubler and then a twin stick transfer case. I've got to figure out a way to get all three of those working using these parts right here. That is the functional project. Over here is the fun project. This is a brand new sway bar kit from Rock Jock. John Curry started the company years ago, and he's a legend in the off-road community. He won the Everyman Challenge for King of the Hammers, I think in 2012, in a Wrangler, competing against Jeeps and vehicles that were way more modified, and he blew them away. Anyway, he's an awesome engineer and a really cool guy. I met him once on the trail out at Sand Hollow, just started chatting me up. Super friendly. So I'm excited to use these products in the back end of Dig Dug. The back end is really soft, so that can give me a lot of lean and body roll in the corners or when I'm off camber. And this will help a little bit with that. If you remember the banana, it was awful at that. You'd go around a corner and you'd feel like you were gonna fall off the side. So it'll help with that a little bit, but it also helps with too much articulation. When the front axles twist in one way and the back axles twist in another, the back axle has enough wheel travel that it can go too far. So this will keep that in check and it'll make it more capable off-road. These parts are beautiful. The attention to detail here is really awesome. I'll work on installing this after I get the shifter going. Then we'll get this thing out on a little drive and see how it does. Here's what I'm working with for the shifter. I bought a bunch of these bronze bushings, and this steel rod is actually a weld anchor for embedding steel into concrete, but it's just the right diameter, so we can use that for our main pin. And I've got some tubing over here, I think, that'll fit on the outside of the bushings. So I can make little pieces that come down and shift the levers, and then handles that come up off of them. I've got the two handles from the old shifter. We might reuse those. They've also got knobs on them and some pieces down here. I've got these rod ends and some all thread that fits them. They're a little bit small. I'm worried about this thing buckling. We might have to sleeve it with some kind of tubing, but these are the right size to grab onto the shift rails. I'm gonna go roll under the truck and see what we're working with. I should have done this before I did the exhaust. All right, it's gonna be a little tricky to get the things down here. I'm gonna put this up on the lift. Right up here is the shift lever for the doubler. I can't even really see it. I can just reach up there and feel it. There it is. I can pull it, I can shift it. It's got a bolt that sticks up out of that shift lever, and I need to remove it so I can figure out what size it is and drill a little hole to make a rod that'll connect that to my shifter. Right here are the two shift rails for the transfer case. I need to build rods that will attach these over to the shift levers as well. Oh, it's coming loose. It was a battle, but I got that little bolt out. It's a shoulder bolt, so now I can measure the shaft to figure out what size rod end we need to go over it. So it looks like a 3/8 of an inch, which is the same size that I was using on this setup right here. Yeah, that'll go in there just like that. Okay, we might be able to reuse these right here. The bolts on the other side are 1/4 of an inch. They feel a little bit wimpy. I don't want to get back up there and drill those holes out though, so we're gonna go with it. These 1/4 inch rod ends are the ones that I'm a little bit worried about. This rod will pull just fine, but if I try to push on it, I'm worried about it buckling. But I'm just gonna start building the shifter mechanism, and then we'll hook it up to things and pull the levers and see if we think we need to beef anything up. I found a bolt that's working even better than the weld anchor. I'm gonna look for tubing now that'll fit in these sections right here. I think this one's the right size. Oh yeah, if I clean off a little burr on the edge, I think that'll slip in there. Yeah, that's a nice tight fit right there. That should make a really good pivot point for the shifter. I'm gonna go cut off 3 of these. I kept grinding the face of the tubing until when I clamped it between the bushings, it would still spin. I built this, which will be the pivot point for all the shifters, and I gotta figure out where it's gonna mount inside the truck. The old one, this, mounted off one of the transmission transfer case adapters, and that's just not gonna work anymore because I'm not using the same adapters. There's no place on the new ones. So I think this has to mount off of the body. And in this truck, the body and the frame are all kind of attached together, so there shouldn't really be weird motion between the cab and the transfer case. I think mounting it there will be fine, but I want it to be really rigid so that if I'm really yanking on one of these levers, nothing's flexing. Let's go see what it looks like in the truck. Okay, it's gotta go up in here somewhere. I can't go too low or I'll hit the transmission, and I can't go too high or I'll hit the floor. Maybe an inch or two below the floor. I might need to open up the hole in the floor a little bit bigger to get all 3 shift levers through there. I'm gonna go pick up the right size bolt. This one's way too long. Then I'm gonna come back and build all the brackets to hold this down in there and build the shift arms. This is the new Ace hardware. It is bigger and even better than before. They still have popcorn and they have an even bigger nut and bolt section.
Hi, Tom Tom.
This is Sam. This is Russell's sister, Todd's daughter. How's it going?
I'm doing pretty good. How about yourself?
Good. Look at that, Todd's right here.
You can't get rid of me. I'm just everywhere.
Yes, you are.
Like and subscribe, yo.
All right. Okay, we'll head back and put this in. I'm back in the shop and I've got my shorter bolt and I've got a plate of 1/8" steel here. I'm gonna start sketching out the brackets that I'll need to mount this, and I'll just cut them out with my zip disc here and drill some holes. Here's what I've got so far. Each one of these will have a lever coming out the top to do the shifting and an arm coming out the bottom that'll move the shift rails in and out on the transfer case. I'm gonna go get in the truck and drop this in from the top and see how it's gonna fit. It's gonna go right down here where the old shifter was, and it looks like I'm gonna have to open up that hole a little bit to make that bolt fit through. I want the top of this to sit right at the cab. Okay, it's gonna fit down in there, but I need to make some plates along the sides to stop it from dropping through. And I think I'm ready to start building the arms down here. This first lever, I'm gonna make out of this piece of 1/4" flat bar, and I'll reuse these old rod ends. I built this little arm and it's gonna get tacked on right in there. I'm hoping it's long enough. It doesn't need a very big throw, but if I make it any longer, it'll hit the transmission. I'll tack it in place, and then after I get the rod ends ready, we can go test it in the truck. So I need to make the levers that are gonna come up out of the shifter. And my idea is to heat up the end of this tubing and then smash it on the anvil, and I can weld that to the little pivot piece, and then the other end will be open, and I can slip in like a 3/4 inch bar, and that'll come up to the knob on the shifter. So I need to make 3 of those. So I've got my torch out here. I'm gonna use this to heat up the ends, and then we'll hammer them over on the anvil. I only want to smash the very end, so I'm going to try not to heat up too much of it. Okay, that works pretty good. I'm going to cut this off right about here, and I'll make 2 more of these. I'm going to make 1 more. All right, let's go hammer. That's the last one. I'll cut it up and then shape the end of it to fit right on those little pivots. I've got enough pieces assembled now that I might be able to get the doubler to shift. I'll go put it in there and try to hook it up. Oh no, it totally crashes. That's not gonna work. It looks like I made the lever arm on the bottom too long. It's definitely bonking into the transmission. I think I can cut down the bracket pieces on the side and that will raise it up. That's better than shortening that lever arm. So I'm gonna give that a try and then we'll put it back in here. On the other side, I should be able to make those levers longer. If I angle them off to the side, they should miss the transmission. I'm gonna go test fit it again. This time, we should have clearance.
We have clearance, Clarence.
Roger, Roger. What's our vector, Victor?
Oh yeah, this time we're good. That's my favorite C-clamp. That's moving really good. I'm gonna lift the truck up, get back on the bottom, and try to connect that lever to the doubler. Then we can do some shifting. I'm gonna bolt this little rod end to the transfer case side, and then I'll measure how long I need to make the connecting rod. I got a little piece of square tube that I'm gonna use for that. We'll chop it down, weld this all together, get things bolted up, then we can see if the shifter's gonna work. I can't really see it, but I can feel back in here where it needs to go. Here's the transfer case side, and here's the transmission side. It looks like it's 3 inches between the bolts. I'll have to take it apart again, build that connecting rod, and then put it all back together. I got everything out and onto the bench and measured it up. It looks like my rod length needs to be 10 5/8. I'm gonna build that up really quick, then we'll put it back in the truck and see how it works. this is the finished connecting rod. It's got a little bit of adjustability built into it. I'm gonna go install it back in the truck and see if we can shift the doubler. I got the whole thing put together now. Time to go see if it'll shift. I'm gonna stab this in there to be my tiny little shift handle, and we'll see if it'll work. Oh yeah. It definitely needs to be mounted to the floor better, but everything was working. So I'm gonna go ahead and build the other two shifters the exact same way, but a little bit different. I've got the shifter mechanism all put together and it seems like it's working now. So I'm gonna stop for a second and build a plate that'll go on the floor of the cab that this will bolt down onto. That'll be a lot stronger than the flimsy sheet metal that's in there right now. Here's the mounting plate that I cut out, and I'm gonna go put it in the cab and then lift the truck up, come in from the bottom, and trace out where that funny shaped hole needs to go. And because it's such a weird shape, I'll probably chop it out with the plasma cutter by hand. I think that'll be the quickest way. It's fitting pretty good right in here. I got the hole all traced out. Time to fire up the plasma cutter. This part's fitting really good now, and I went ahead and blasted a bunch of little holes all over it so that I can attach it really good to the body of the cab. I'll go around the perimeter too, so there will be a lot of welding on this thing. The prep work is all done. It's time to weld this plate in. I'm installing riv nuts in these holes to bolt down the shifter. I think 4 will be enough, but if it seems kind of wobbly, I'll add another 4 later. Everything's bolted down in here now, and it seems to be working pretty good. It's time to go underneath here and figure out the connecting rods. I've got some rod ends installed up here, and I'm measuring right now how long it is between them so that I can build those connecting rods. This first one is looking like it's gonna be about 9 1/4. Everything's done down here on the bottom. The connecting rods are all built, they're installed. I'm gonna get in the cab now and see if everything shifts. This is the test. Okay, the doubler's working. Okay, rear output's working. Front output shaft is working as well. So we've got 4-wheel drive, all the gears are working. I think we're done here with the functional stuff. It's time to work on the sway bar, the fun stuff. We're out running some errands today. I've got Angel here with me. It is a beautiful warm day in Hurricane, and we're gonna go diesel up Brutus. So this is a great time to talk to you about the sponsor for today's video. It's the Upside app.
Tom and I are always looking for ways to be more frugal and earn cash back, and the Upside app is a great way to do that. One of our favorite features about the Upside app is its actual cash back. There's no points or rewards to keep track of. Upside is free to download, and there are over 100,000 businesses, restaurants, grocery stores, and gas stations, so there ought to be plenty of options near you.
The app is super easy to use, so it doesn't take long to find and claim an offer. We've been doing a lot of traveling this year, and I know gas and diesel have been really expensive, so this is a great way to earn cash back every time you fill up. Top Upside earners are making as much as $280 per year. To find out how much you could earn, click the link in the description to download Upside and use code TOMTOM to get an extra 25 cents back for every gallon on your first tank of gas. Or scan the QR code here to claim this offer.
I noticed Chipotle is on the Upside network. Do you want to skip your PBJ and get a chicken burrito?
You had me at burrito. So RockChalk makes a lot of vehicle-specific kits for the popular vehicles like Wranglers and Broncos. But because my vehicle is pretty custom, I just selected pieces off their website that I thought would work for me. I also talked with their tech support guys who are great, and they help me get exactly what I need. So I've got the tube to mount to the frame that the sway bar or the torsion bar will go inside of. I've got both of the link arms for each side, and then little links that'll go down to the axle and some tabs to weld onto the axle. I'm gonna start up on the frame end, and we'll figure out where to mount this tube. And then we'll build off of that until everything connects together. I've been cleaning up the frame rails here so that I can weld on the tube that holds the sway bar. Because of the geometry and other things that are in the way, I'm gonna have to go below the frame rails. So I've got marked out exactly where I need to weld it in. I got the mounting tube clamped in place. I'm just gonna tack it in and then see how the arms fit. All right, let's test the sway bar arm in here. Okay, my big concern is, am I gonna hit there? And it looks like I clear. I don't hit on the front end. I have plenty of up and down motion. And I should have a good angle right here between the connecting rod that comes up off of the axle at full droop. You don't want this thing to hyperextend and get locked up the other way. That would ruin the arm. And these things are too pretty to do that too. I'm gonna go ahead and weld these in all the way, and then I'll make some brackets so I can weld them in even more and make them 11% better. I'm using 1-inch flat bar for my reinforcement pieces. I'll cut out 4 of these and weld them in. These have cooled off now, and I'm gonna put in these inserts next. Then I can slide in the sway bar. I'm just putting a tiny bit of moly grease on these. Now the sway bar. I hammered it in there and got it evened up on both sides. Now comes the fun part. I get to install those billet arms, and they look so good. I've just got to get them installed parallel to each other right now. I can move them wherever I need, and they fit in there really tight, so they'll stay in position while I get the rest of this set up. When I'm trying to line things up that I want to be straight or parallel, I like to sight down the edge with one eye, and you can tell if they're lined up good. Those look perfect right there. I'm going to lock them down. They've got these good looking little cover plates to keep the sway bar from moving in and out. You're supposed to set these up so that when the arm is horizontal, like that, your suspension is exactly halfway through its travel. So I'm going to lower the truck now and watch the chrome on the shock until I only have half of it showing. I got my measurements for the connecting rods, and it turns out I ordered mine a little bit long. So I chopped a section out of the middle, sleeved them, welded them back together, and now they're ready to go install on the back of the truck. I'm just fiddling around here with where it's gonna fit down on the axle tube, and I think that's about where we want it. All right, that looks pretty good. I need to make sure this angle right here can never invert. That would be bad. Everything is together now, and it's looking really good. I'm happy with the angle I got between the arms here. I'm not worried about anything going over center and braking. And I cleared all the things up here that I needed to avoid. I found out these arms are clear anodized, so it should be looking good for a long, long time. Okay, let's get it out on the road. We're just out cruising. I got Angela here with me. We're gonna test out the new sway bar. I think this is your first time in Dig Dug Off-Road, isn't it?
Probably, and I just got out of a seat because last time I said,
Oh yeah.
and you run a toolbox.
Or the seat tipped over. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're all
Oh,
bolted
yeah.
in and good today.
Hold it in.
Okay, we're gonna have a
Good
good
day.
time. We don't have a lot of daylight left, but I'm gonna hit the whoops really good here. It's feeling a lot better with the lower gears. It brought a lot of the power back to this truck. And I wanna test out this sway bar a little bit. So we'll rip through these for a minute and see how it goes. I'm liking these whoops. I'm gonna kick in the doubler, but leave it in two-wheel drive. Where's my shifter? Oh, there it is. I'm gonna need this.
Yeah.
There we go. Right in front of us is the hill that I barely made it up last time in two-wheel drive. I'm gonna throw it in 4 right now, and I think we'll just cruise right up. That was way too easy. We cruised right up that with no trouble.
I wasn't here for the last adventure, but that seemed pretty easy to me.
Yeah, it was. I wish we had time to go into Sand Hollow, but it's getting dark and we don't have any lights on this thing. So we're gonna head out of here and get back to the shop. This was a good test run. The shifter's working great, and I love the sway bar in the back. Felt way more stable in the turns. We're gonna cruise out of here now and head home.
Thanks for watching.